Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for our online video training that we do for many of our events and always our summer ministries. This allows us to be able to reach more of our volunteers without having to try to have to line up with people's schedules and things like that. You can watch this whenever you want. Thanks for making sure to take the time to do it. This is really important for us to be ready for the kiddos because, of course, passing on faith to the next generation is one of the most important things we're charged to do as a church. So I really appreciate you being ready and prepared. So this won't take long. Let's just dive right in. First, this training is going to cover 4 different areas. One, we'll just talk quickly about the purpose of the event because I feel like that guides people's decisions all throughout the event. Second, we want to talk about the format so you know what to expect. How is the night going to flow? What's going to happen? Then we're going to talk third about cleanup of the event. Of course, we can't play without cleaning up when we're done, right? And then the last one, we just have a few more things we want to talk about when it comes to working with kids at Via Church. The first part, purpose, is to help kids grow in faith and relationships. This is hugely important, and one of the best ways that we do that is actually by being present with this focus in mind. So it's not just being there, but it's being there with a purpose of helping kids grow in faith and relationships. We never know what moments are significant. So be ready, be present, be engaged with them. I still have kids text me or Facebook message me or Instagram me things that I said to them when they were kids in kids church 14 years ago, and I just don't even remember saying it. It is just crazy how God uses the things that we do when we do them intentionally. Second, we don't know what a child's specific needs are. So we find that helping a child to grow in their faith and in their relationships means that they have people and a faith to draw from with whatever those specific needs are. We have a way of being able to help each other, not just educationally or programmatically, but relationally, and that is there's actually a ton of theology behind that that's really good. Our goal, another purpose, is to give kids more leaders and not just more lessons. Every year at this time, we have new leaders join us for this that have never stepped out in this area before, and we do again this year. We got new leaders joining us for our summer program, and I just want to tell you, that is huge. Our kids in America grow up experientially and educationally rich, but a lot of times relationally poor. And the solution to that is giving them leaders, better ratios of leaders, leaders that love God, leaders that are being intentional about helping them grow in their faith and relationships. Hey, one thing that we want to point out real quick too before we go any further that fits right in with our purpose is, how do you know if you're winning at that? Sometimes leaders will come up with their own wins if we don't tell you how you know you're winning. So here are some things to help you to know that you're winning. One, if you sense a connection between kids, parents, or leaders. So if 2 kids are deepening a friendship, or a kid finally gets a friend at church, that's huge. Some parents are disconnected. We just don't even think about it, but they come to church, they listen to the message, they leave, and they themselves have not made any friends and don't have friendships to draw from and encourage them. It's huge when we can keep parents talking at the end, engage parents at the end of our night together, and help them to meet other leaders and other parents, okay? We want to see kids increase in their Bible knowledge. They are sponges at this age, so we would be silly not to do our best in this area. But also, something that they're not great at this age is application. And that's why we do a large group, small group format. We try to give them the most engaging large group to keep their attention up front to learn. But then we give them small group leaders like you that can help personalize it and make it true. The last win, if you notice kids are having fun. Now that doesn't mean that fun trumps them listening or being respectful towards each other or you. We still have to have structure. That's actually really, really good for kids to have boundaries and to know that we expect them to handle themselves in an appropriate manner. But all of that should also not be at the expense of fun. We want them to have a really great time. And that's, if you see kids having fun and doing one of these other things, connecting or increasing in Bible knowledge, you know you're winning. Hey, this next slide is brought to you by Good Love's Spark Plugs, hair plugs and extensions that make your special event way more interesting. The next slide is all about the format. We're going to dive into the format of the event. Beginning at 5:25, we need you in the kids' auditorium, not in the parking lot, not on your way to the church, but right there. This is really important. We need you there for group instruction and prayer for leaders. And one of the reasons that's so important is because we'll already be handling our first kids at 5:45. You're a leader when the first kid arrives. Now, I know that the event doesn't actually start until 6, but of course, we have to open the doors a little bit early, and truly, most of the time, some of the best ministry you'll find is when kids come right in and they're telling you about their weekend, or they're talking about what happened since last week. That less structured time where we're just doing an activity together has been some of the best times for connection with kids. So we really need you to be ready, especially since not only do you have 2 activities each week you're doing with kids, but we're also building Pinewood Derby cars this year. That's part of why we chose the VROOM theme, and you might need to know some things that you don't know about building Pinewood Derby cars. So we need you there for that 15 minutes from 5:30 to 5:45 for us to be able to talk through real quick what we're doing for the evening, and then pray together. So please make sure you're on time. It's one of the most important things you can do for the kids. When kids do arrive, we ask that you welcome them by name. They're going to be wearing name tags, so that makes that a whole lot easier. But this is important for them to feel connected and welcome and like an important individual in the group. Help the kiddos connect with another child in their group. We talked about that within the purpose. If they're the first to arrive, engage them in the activity, talk to them yourself. But watch for developing or failing connections. When you set up these connections, sometimes they're just not going to work. That's okay. Jump ship and connect that kid with another one. Just don't make the first kid feel like a failure. You don't need to point out that this isn't working. You just need to say, hey, would you help them with this for now? That can be a way to help kids get connected, okay? One thing that you are going to notice when you come in is that we have tables at the back and rugs up closer to the stage. These are our circle rugs that we use for small groups on Sunday mornings. We'll be using them on Sunday nights as well, and this is where our groups will sit. There will be signs that tell you what grade you work with, and we'll be reaching out to you as well so that you know that. But at the back of the room, you're going to find tables, and those tables might be used for some activities, but for the most part, those are by grade for building Pinewood Derby cars. Okay. After that early arriver time, the second large chunk of time in our format is our large group time. Large group begins at 6:05 and it happens on the rugs, and we are going to need your help during that time with crowd control, meaning that you help handle what's going on your rug. Just pay attention to the kiddos. Even the ones up front can be talking a little bit. Maybe you don't see it because their back is turned. Just help them. Be positive and encouraging, and be real friendly and saying things like, "Hey, come over here and sit by me, buddy." If they're struggling, and talking with another kid, just moving them in that kind, friendly way without making it seem punitive can avoid them having a me versus you attitude. So that can be really useful. But just help us with that time. If you notice that another group is really struggling, step in and help them too. That would be really great. But please watch your group well. And then also move kids as necessary, but don't shame them in the process, like we just talked about. As far as our summer topics go, we want to show you this. You can get a look here. We are doing a 7-week series, not an 8-week, because we're off for Father's Day. We will not have VROOM on Father's Day. So we're eliminating week 7. We'll be combining some of that material into the other weeks. And but this is, you can pause it here if you want to, if you care a lot about this and want to see more of what we're doing. The next slide actually gives you a quick peek of during the Bible segment that happens between acting. We'll have 2 actors named Screech and Vic, and they're going to be doing a bunch of acting on stage during a large group to really build kids' interests and why what we're saying is important. And then this video will actually drive home the truth. These are our hosts for the Bible segment.
Hello there, race fans. I'm Miles Miller.
And I'm Kit Carson, and welcome back to the Inside Track.
What an amazing turn of events today.
That's right. Can you believe that Screech took the payment for Vic? Even though last week it seemed like Vic didn't want Screech, and even fired Screech as his professional crew chief.
So you can see that that they do a good job of reviewing the previous week, helping. You can see that the sketches are going to help. You can already imagine what that sketch related to, what that week's bottom line was that love puts others first, things like that. So It's going to be a great time. We have a healthy dose of cheese in the videos, and that's okay. Of course, kids love that, so that's not a big deal. But our third and final key segment of the evening is our breakout groups, and that's at 6:45 p.m. So when we dismiss from large group, you'll actually stay in your circle rugs for a time unless the activity calls for you to be at the tables. We're planning for you to stay at your circle rugs, and you'll do one activity at your circle rug, and then we'll dismiss everyone together to go back to do the Pinewood Derby activity for the evening. So again, stay at your circle rug during the breakout groups until we dismiss you. But during this time, you're going to help kids be inclusive of others in the group. Make sure to help prevent cliques. We're going to ask you to encourage kids to help one another, especially during the Pinewood Derby time. And then when we're all done with the Pinewood Derby activity, some kids will finish fast. They're not real detailed. Other kids will take forever. This is where your group leaders will need to split up a little bit and work together to help make sure that kids are doing something productive. We definitely ask that kids aren't running around the room. We're even going to be asking that the kids are not on stage and that they don't go upstairs because usually there are too many kids for us to handle upstairs. So we will have the early arriver activity on hand. Many kids that come at the beginning of the night don't get to do the early arriver activity because they came at 6 o'clock and not 5:45 or whatever. So having that activity on hand will be useful during that time. And that activity a lot of times is one that kids want to keep doing. We have really fun activities like marble races with noodles that are cut in half and things like that. So we do say even during that time, keep the kids first and the project second, meaning don't just focus on the tasks of the derby stuff. Don't just focus on the cleanup and things like that, but really go out of your way to look for conversations with the kids, okay? This next slide is brought to you by Bowling Ball Hole Cologne. Smell like the finger of a champion. Okay, our final topic here, our third topic is cleanup. Kids will have a container to keep their car parts together. These are real important. Not only do we want you to label the container, but we want the kids to also label their car parts, at least the bottom of their car. And the reason that we say that is because it's, man, when things start to get separated, it's crazy. And kids, you think they would recognize their car, especially once they've painted it. They don't. So labeling is hugely important. We're going to ask for your help with that, but we're going to bundle that all up, stick it back in their containers, help us pick up at the end of the night. We know you got kids to get to bed. So does everybody else, so we're going to work together. Thankfully, it's summer. It doesn't take us long. It's usually like 5-10 minutes of everybody just working together really quick at the end of the night to just get it all picked up quick. The Pinewood Derby cars need to stay at the church unless they are Pinewood Derby cars that leaders are building for the open class. You are welcome to buy a Pinewood Derby car for $5 for the open class race. We will allow leaders to race one another and even enter cars from the past as well. Okay, we do ask another part of cleanup. Please clean up glue and paint right away, because of course those can be problematic if they dry, but wait on the other things until the end of the night, till once the parents come, and do your best to connect with parents, hang out with kids, and then we can do a lot of the cleanup then. There might be some times where it works to do a little bit of cleanup during the end, right before parents come, but usually we're going to want you focusing on the kids during that time too. Speaking of the kids, here are some things to know when working with the kids. We always want to talk about safety. We want to talk about the rule of 3 real quick. And what the rule of 3 is it says that no adult and child is ever alone on our campus. That doesn't mean you can't be talking one-on-one with a child in the room, because you can, because other people will be seeing that. But you wouldn't take that child to the bathroom and go in with them. You wouldn't take them to a secluded place ever and be alone with them. The rule of 3 says that 2 elementary kids and up can be with 1 leader, or 2 leaders can be with 1 kid, but never just one-on-one. We want to talk a little bit about bathroom breaks really quick. Before or after Bible talk and response time is the preferred time for kids to take bathroom breaks. What I mean by that is once we get into after the video, the Bible story video, I'll talk a little bit about applying this to our lives. And sometimes, most of the time, this is when kids want to take their bathroom breaks. And we're going to ask you to hold on that. This is an important time where serious moments happen, where we're going to ask kids to pray. We're going to let God work on their hearts. We don't want them to miss that. So please make sure that it's before or after Bible talk time. And kids must be escorted to the restroom. We ask you to do that after check-in. The reason why is it's our check-in leader that we usually have handle all of that. It might need to be one of the leaders from within your group, but we do want you to do that after check-in when more of the adults are cleared out. So kids should go to the restroom before their parents drop them off, or once we hit 6:05, if that makes sense. Okay? When kids go to the restroom, we want to send girls in pairs when possible and send boys alone when possible. I say send, I mean escort, but you understand how crazy it can get if you send 3 boys into the restroom at the same time. And of course, for safety, it's always best to send girls in pairs. Ask the kids about their week, their family, their pets, and even their fears. When it comes to working with kids, you might get stuck. You're not sure. What do I say? What do I do? How do I have a meaningful conversation with a kid? How do I not just say, how you like in summer? And then they say good, and then that's it. Well, ask open-ended questions about their week. Hey, what'd you do this weekend? Ask about their family. Tell me about your family a little bit. Tell me about any pets that you have. Tell me about things. Tell me about what makes you nervous. Things like that. Tell me about what makes you sad. Stuff like that. Obviously, our goal is not to be downers during this, but it is good sometimes to start to draw out those things that they can trust God with. These are great things to ask about. And if a kid gives a short answer, then your response is also short. 3 words. Your response is, tell me more. You might add on to it and say, tell me more about that. Or tell me more about that pet. Tell me more about Dad a little bit. You didn't mention him very much. That sort of thing. You can have some pretty meaningful conversations when you handle them that way. Also, another thing you can do is talk about how the kids are planning to apply the lesson. You wouldn't use those words. You'd use words like, tell me what stood out to you this week. And then the kids, of course, will do just that. Or you would say something like, tell me what from tonight's Bible story is the most useful to you this week. What do you think is something useful that you heard tonight? You want it to be super casual in the way that you ask those kinds of questions, but those are some ideas. You may choose to jot those down on a note card or something if you're afraid you're going to forget them. If you come the week 2 and you're like, man, I am just not hitting this conversation thing with the kids, come on back to this part of the video. It's 17.5 minutes in, is right about where this happened, and you can write down those items and you can take a moment to just peek before you go into the evening, and you'll have some ideas of how to connect with the kiddos. Hey, I want to say last, and it's definitely not the least important, but I say it last because I want you to remember this part of all things. Many times what happens in the summer changes a family big time. We have had dads that have started attending church out of what we do in the summer. We have had entire families come to faith out of what we do in the summer. We have had kids bring lots of friends. We have had kids come back to church because of what we do in the summer. You're not going to notice this all happening under your nose. I'm going to do my best to bring you some stories when I have them, but I want to ask you to do this for me. Of all of the stuff that you prepare, please pray. Prayer can do anything God can do. That's a huge phrase to think about, and we really want God to do it because we are so limited, but He is not. So let's pray that God will do great things with this fast summer that we're doing as we focus on VROOM and as we're talking about His love and helping the kids to grow deeper in how to love Him and love others. Thanks so much for watching, and I especially appreciate you going all the way to the end. Have a great one. I'll see you Sunday at 5:25.